On this edition of Early Look, I'm going to be previewing the co-main event of UFC London coming up here March 22nd, O2 Arena, between Jan Blachowicz and Carlos Ulberg. My name is James Lynch. If you've never watched the show before, I'm going to go through a bunch of different stats, a bunch of different intangibles, then I'm going to give you my prediction for this fight in the end. Let me know in the comments what your prediction is for this fight. Let's have a discussion about this. Really good fight that I think, frankly, is flying under the radar a little bit. We got a lot of big fights coming up. This is going to be a good one. The former champ Blachowicz against City Kickboxing's Carlos Ulberg, and a little bit of a storyline going into this. Obviously, Jan Blachowicz defeating Carlos Ulberg's teammate Israel Adesanya a number of years ago, so Ulberg looking to get some revenge in this fight. And like we normally do, let's do a quick tail of the tape between these two. Jan Blachowicz, 42 years old, 34 years old for Carlos Ulberg, 6'2" to 6'4", 78 to 77. So Blachowicz going to be have a little bit of a reach advantage. Carlos Ulberg a little bit taller and obviously a lot younger. Let's start first with the former light heavyweight champion, Jan Blachowicz, who did not fight at all in 2024. So looking to get back and see what he's made of in the division. Again, bit of a lengthy one coming into this fight, but we'll see if he's able to do anything as he looks to get back to title contention here. So I mentioned it there. He's 29, 10-1. He's got 9 knockouts, 9 submissions, and 11 decisions. He's currently ranked number 3 in the light heavyweight division. He's 42 years old, 6'2" with a 78-inch reach. So he'll have a 1-inch reach advantage in this fight. He's the former UFC light heavyweight champion. He's only the second Polish UFC champion in UFC history after Joanna Jędrzejczyk. He's got performance of the night 5 times against Devin Clark, Nikita Krylov, Luke Rockhold, Corey Anderson, and Dominic Reyes. He's also got fight of the night 1 time against Jimmy Manuwa. Blachowicz did not have an amateur debut. He went straight to the pros way back in February of 2007, a fight he ended up losing. Made his UFC debut in October of 2014, right there when he took out Iri Latifi. And what else? He is 13-7-1 in the UFC. He's got 7 stoppage victories. Some notable wins include Jared Cannonier, Luke Rockhold, Corey Anderson, Dominic Reyes, Israel Adesanya, and most recently Alexander Rakic, although that was a bit of an injury in that one. Some notable losses include Corey Anderson, Alexander Gustafsson, Thiago Santos, Glover Teixeira, and Alex Pereira. He's had a couple layoffs in his career, going from Ankalaev to Pereira. There was a 231-day layoff, but this layoff, the biggest of his career, going from Alex Pereira to Carlos Ulberg, there's going to be a 622-day layoff. So big layoff going into this one for Jan Blachowicz. If you remember, he was supposed to fight Alexander Rakic back in January of last year, 2024, at UFC 297. Ends up getting a shoulder injury, and that injury taking him out for the whole year. So Blachowicz going to be fighting for the first time in, like I said, 622 days. He's had a couple close fights in his career. I'm not going to go through all of them, but one that is worth noting is the Alex Pereira fight. So he ends up losing a split decision in that fight. If you go look at the media scorecards on MMADecisions.com, which tallies all the media scorecards, 22 media members scored the fight for Pereira. I think a lot of people felt like Pereira won, but 4 media members scored the fight for Jan Blachowicz. It was close. Remember, that was at Elevation as well. That was in Utah. That was the Poirier-Gaethje 2 card. So maybe a bit of a different circumstance. It was weird because Blachowicz actually ended up losing steam a bit in that fight. But, obviously he trains in the mountains, so that was a bit interesting. But I think the big takeaway from that fight is that Alex Pereira didn't knock him out. And Blachowicz was able to get some takedowns. In fact, Jan has given Alex Pereira his toughest test, I'd say, other than maybe Khalil Roundtree, at light heavyweight. So that's something to keep in mind too. Blachowicz then that was his last fight. And that was back in July of 2023. So something to consider. Let's look at the stats here for Jan Blachowicz. You look at it there, significant strikes landed per minute is 3.41. That's pretty good. His striking accuracy is at 50%. His striking defense is at 53%. Doesn't get hit that much. His takedown average is 1.09. So he does have the takedowns available. Doesn't use it a lot. His takedown accuracy is at 50%. And his takedown defense is at 68%. Although I'd be pretty surprised if Carlos Ulberg shot for a takedown in this fight. Let's talk about Carlos Ulberg, his opponent, who looks to get one step closer to a title shot. You can see the record there, 11-1. He's got 7 knockouts, 1 submission, and 3 decisions. He's currently ranked number 6 in the light heavyweight division. He is 34 years old, 6'4" with a 77-inch reach, so he's 8 years younger and has a 2-inch height advantage in this fight. I mentioned he trains at a City Kickboxing. He's got fight of the night 1 time against Kennedy Nzechukwu. He's got performance of the night 2 times against Ihor Pereira and Alonzo Menefield. He's got the 3rd fastest knockout finish in UFC light heavyweight division history at 12 seconds when he knocked out Alonzo Menefield. And he's also tied with Chuck Liddell for 4th longest win streak in UFC light heavyweight division history at 7. Did not have an amateur debut, went straight to the pros in August of 2011, made his UFC debut in March of 2021, so not that long ago. Remember, he won on Dana White's Contender Series back in 2020. He is 7-1 in the UFC. He's got 5 stoppage victories. He's only got 2 notable wins in the weight class. He's beat a lot of guys, but just 2 notable wins. Alonzo Menafield and Volkan Ozdemir. These are the only 2 ranked opponents that he's defeated. The rest, actually, most of these guys, other than I think Da Woon Jung, most of these guys aren't in the UFC anymore. So Ihor, I believe, is in the UFC. Da Woon Jung, is he still in the UFC? I can't remember. Probably not going to be after losing 4 in a row. So just, as far as looking at level of opposition there, Carlos Ulberg hasn't fought the same caliber of opponents that Jan Blachowicz had. The one thing with Ulberg, no major layoffs, no close fights, and looking at his stats, very impressive, especially on the striking in here. Look at this. Strikes landed per minute, 7.20. His striking accuracy is at 56%. His strikes landed per minute is 4.27. His striking defense is at 50%, so he gets hit a little bit. 0.72 takedown average. Don't think we'll see one there. His takedown accuracy, though, is 75%, and his takedown defense is 83%. We'll see if Blachowicz is able to get a takedown or two, and his sub-average is 0.02. Let's look at the odds here. Very interesting here. Carlos Ulberg, almost a 3-1 favorite here on DraftKings. You can see BetMGM and some other odds here have him about minus 275, minus 265, and Jan Blachowicz plus 225. But interestingly enough, this doesn't happen too often. If you look on Tapology, you'll see that this is where the fans can pick the fights. There's no money being bet. Look at this, much closer. Carlos Ulberg, 58%. Jan Blachowicz, 42%. Okay. I think this fight's going one of 2 ways. I'm going to go with the way that I think people think this probably won't go, especially with the betting odds. That is him taking Jan Blachowicz. So a couple reasons why I think Blachowicz can win this fight. Now, look, I'm very aware that it's very concerning. 622 days since Blachowicz last fought. He's older. He's had a lot of injuries. That is concerning. However, you can't ignore his last fight. And I know that was a while ago, but the fact that he went the distance with Alex Pereira, I actually think tells us a lot here. So, first and foremost, I do want to mention that I think Jan Blachowicz wins the decision. This is only a 3-round fight. Now, obviously, that would favor Ulberg, I think, because he doesn't have that much 5-round experience. But Ulberg, if we saw in the last fight against Volkan Ozdemir, wasn't able to finish him. And I know, Ozdemir's not a guy that is easy to take out. I think he has just 2 knockout losses in his entire career. But I wasn't overly impressed with that fight. Like, he got the win, but, I don't think it was like one of those wins where I think that Ulberg's going to light the division on fire. Again, one of the big things I look at here is Jan Blachowicz has only been knocked out once in 21 career fights. So he's pretty durable. And the only guy to knock him out was Thiago Santos, and that was a 3rd-round knockout a couple years back. Pereira couldn't knock him out. Look at the guys that he's fought that have knockout power. If we go back a little bit. So you got Pereira, obviously. Rakic has knockout power too. He doesn't get it all the time, but he's still capable of it. Glover Teixeira's got knockout power. Glover submits him, doesn't knock him out. Adesanya's got knockout power. Reyes has got knockout power. Corey Anderson's got knockout power. Even Luke Rockhold has knockout power. They couldn't knock him out. So again, I think there's a very limited way that Ulberg wins this fight. I mean, Ulberg can either, and that's kind of what I was talking about off the top. I think if you're picking Ulberg, you're probably picking him to win by knockout, and that could happen. Again, we could see a different Blachowicz in there with the injuries, with the time off, with him being 42 years old. That is concerning, and trust me, I don't feel super confident on the Blachowicz end here because all those could be very big factors in this fight. However, if you look at the overall stats here, Jan is tough to finish. He's still a pretty damn good fighter, very well-rounded, and not to mention, Jan's fought better opposition. Jan can get takedowns. We saw that against Alex Pereira. I think that would be a very good game plan here. I don't think Jan is going to try and stand and trade with Ulberg too much because why play into his game? We know Ulberg, can be taken down. We can see Jan working that ground game a little bit, and that's sort of, that's what he did against Israel Adesanya. It took him down the whole fight. I think Jan could do the same thing here as well. Again, this is a 3-round fight, so that does sort of favor Ulberg because maybe he'll, obviously come out a bit stronger, doesn't have to worry about the cardio. But at the same time, that's only 3 rounds to finish your opponent instead of 5. So I think, again, you could look at that fight 2 different ways. And again, the thing I look at too is that he wasn't able to finish Volkan Ozdemir in his last fight. He did finish Menafield, but you look at the guys he's knocking out: Menafield, Jung, Ihor, Tefon. Like, all these guys are lower level opposition. And let's not forget either, he was a big favorite in that fight with Kennedy and Ncheku. And I know there's a couple of years ago, but look at this. He was a minus 235 favorite, and Kennedy and Ncheku beat him. Now, obviously, that looked like an off night. I think if they ended up rematching, I'd probably pick Ulberg. But the point is that he can be defeated as well. And Jan's got some power too. He could knock him out potentially as well. But I just think overall, Jan's the better fighter. And I'm banking on having a similar Jan to who we saw fight Alex Pereira. And I think if that Jan shows up, he can beat Carlos Ulberg. And not to mention, you're getting some great odds here on Jan Blachowicz. Again, he is coming in at, plus 225. I think these odds are off. I think even if you like Ulberg, I put him at more minus 150. He hasn't proven a whole lot in the division. He beat a Volkan Ozdemir. He beat Alonzo Menefield. That's great, but that doesn't tell me a ton in terms of what he's capable of. Again, I know the optics here, they don't look great for Jan, but I think Polish power will come through here, and I think he wins the decision here. So that's where I'm leaning. I'm going against the grain in this one. I'm picking Jan Blachowicz to win a decision over Carlos Ulberg. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. I know most of you are on Ulberg. I know most of you are probably taking him by knockout. I get it. It's not, news to me. I can totally see him winning that way, but I just think if you look at the overall resume, I got to go with Blachowicz. Again, there's more proof of him beating better opposition, being in there with better guys, and he's shown to be pretty durable throughout his career. I don't see that changing here. So give me Jan Blachowicz by decision. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. This is Early Look. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.